we're desperate for information to better understand where we're at as a community, having to do with this new industry entering our market. And so this is simply a briefing. At this table are known applicants, all three types. Also at this table, or potentially at this table that have been invited, is commercial realtors that have also been contacting me, trying to get clarity about the set-off requirements and so on. And I also have invited a lot of people from City Hall. We have the interim city manager here. We have a couple city council people here. We have the assistant city attorney here who will speak to what you might expect from the city in the coming weeks. So more of a timeline and then the city's response having to do towards some zoning alignment with this industry. Lyndell has a PowerPoint presentation he's going to give. We'll open up some Q&A, and then Jordan will speak for a few moments about the city, more of a timeline, what to expect in the coming weeks from the city.
Sure.
And for your note-taking purposes, Aaron is actually going to record this presentation, and we will post it on YouTube or somewhere, and then point to it. So that'll be available to you and anybody that's from your organizations elsewhere. I'm just going to turn it over. And then our presenting sponsor here is Sircoxie Nursery. They're represented here today by Dr. Paul Calicote and his wife Wendy. Dr. Calicote is going to have an opportunity to speak for a few moments about his new enterprise. Would you like to speak for a moment?
Yeah, sure. So I was recruited here in 1991 by St. John's Hospital. My training is as an interventional cardiologist. I did that training in St. Louis, at St. Louis University Hospital. Had the opportunity to finish my career down in Grove, Oklahoma. Had an opportunity to build a cardiac catheterization lab down there in association with the hospital down there. Sold that, retired. We have a farm just south of here that the plan was to go bird hunting at this point in my life. My son came back from the west, the Pacific Northwest, and got me involved in marijuana. And so now we're involved. We purchased a nursery out in Sircoxie, Missouri. It's an old ornamental tree farm. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it's just drop dead gorgeous. We think it's an ideal site. It gives us both a privacy fencing and a security fencing with trees. It's pretty cool. So that's kind of our plan. We also intend to have without saying too much, because Mr. Fraker's here and I have to be very careful, that there's not an association seen somewhere in the future. But we intend to have 5 dispensaries. Our flagship dispensary will be here in Joplin. We want to make this the best one in the state. We're family owned. It's me, my wife, my son, who can't be here now. He's at the Kentucky Derby. Anyway, that's Sircoxie Nursery.
Appreciate that. So I want to turn over to Lyndell. And he said,
actually, before you turn it over to Lyndell, I would like to say one more thing. So I've been following this process now for quite some time, and I would, in case I don't get a chance at the end of this, the state has gone above and beyond. Amendment 2 was written by a group of people that took all of the stuff from the other states that worked and didn't work and put it into Amendment 2, and it passed. I'm sure you're aware that we did extremely well down here in Southwest Missouri as far as its favorability and yes votes. We did better down here, I think, than any place else in the state. And in the state as a whole, we did better than any other ballot or any other item on the ballot. We got more votes for medical marijuana. We're very proud of that with Amendment 2. Having said that, what a great amendment and constitutional change that it was, I'd like to go even further and say that DHSS has so far performed way beyond anybody's expectations. And I think they have just done, and I'm not trying to kiss up here, I think they've just done an extremely professional job in a speedy fashion, and I look forward to that in the future.
Thank you, Toby. Is it okay if I sit? Great, thank you. This is a great format to set. Thank you. Had a late night last night. I was in Graytown and got home about midnight back to Marshfield. So, all right. Let me see if I can figure this clicker out.
See if it's turned on the side of it. Top on the side,
Oh,
on
I
the
guess
top.
that would help, wouldn't it? All right,
There you go.
that's the pointer. Which one's the clicker? What do you know?
We'll bail you out, hold on a second.
All right. We're going to use this one, what's this? That's the.
That's the.
The not operating. While she's doing that, my name's Lyndell Fraker. I live in Marshfield. I served in the House of Representatives for 8 years. Just completed my term December 31st. And prior to that, I was county commissioner of Webster County. Prior to that, I had a 17-year management career with Walmart. The last 7 with my hometown store there in Marshfield. I spent quite a bit of time in the Springfield Supercenters in the early days when there were only 30 supercenters in the chain. So I kind of grew up in that industry. Even himself, which I had some conversations with, didn't know much about the grocery business when we started opened that North Supercenter. I got the call in December from Dr. Williams, the director of the Department of Health, and representative from the governor's office, and they asked me if I would consider this position. And I'll be honest with you, it kind of floored me. I was like, you want me to do what? I don't know anything about it, never used it, don't know a thing about it. They said, that's why we want you. And I was honored, first of all, and my first reaction was, I don't know if I want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And so in talking with my wife and family and my minister and praying about it and all, everything that you do when you make a decision, we decided it was the thing to do. We decided that, this amendment passed by a 65% margin on November the 6th. It totally defeated the other 2 proposals that were put on. And for whatever reason, Missouri's ready. It seems to be ready for this medical marijuana. So I decided that I would take this on, and I'll tell you, it's been a life-changing time for us. Missouri's getting ready for a cultural shift. We are in one. And I think there can be a lot of good come from this. There can also be a lot of negatives, as we all know. We're the 33rd state, and the first state came online legally 20 years ago. And for about 10 years now, there's also been recreational in the nation. So things are moving. The prediction is that the federal government will probably be looking at decriminalizing it in the next couple of years if things continue to move as it is. And quite frankly, I've spoke to all kinds of groups around the state, including the Prosecuting Association. I think they would tell you they wish the feds would deal with it because it would clear up a lot of things and return things back to the state. So this is where we're at with medical marijuana. And but we're working on trying to develop the rules and get this new industry kicked off. So with that, there we go. What we're going to talk about here today is the program activities and goals, the applications and the program status, the rulemaking process, some timelines, questions and answers, and then I'd like to remind people of our website, which is simply medicalmarijuana.mo.gov. So the first thing we've tried to do is be extremely transparent. We wanted to make sure that the citizens of Missouri had an opportunity to give us their input on what they think we should be doing with this new industry. We've held 5 public forums across the state. We had one in Springfield, Poplar Bluff, Jeff City, St. Louis, Kansas City. We've heard a lot of great comments, a lot of questions about the amendment rules and program structure. We've also engaged with a variety of public agencies, local governments, state agencies, law enforcement. I've met with the Sheriff's Association, the police chiefs, Highway Patrol. I've met in most of the troop headquarters around the state, and trying to make sure that we include them in and we take their ideas and suggestions to help make their life easier as this new industry gets going, because we know it's going to affect them. And then we're trying to respond daily to inquiries and suggestions. We have a board on our website that you can send in your ideas, and believe me, we have a team that every day, all day long, they're answering those emails, or they're receiving those suggestions at least needs and taking to the rule makers. And many of our rule, processes have came from the ideas from that public input. So our approach to implementing Amendment 2 is number one, to fulfill the will of the voters, ensuring all required deadlines are met while protecting the Constitution. This is a constitutional amendment. It's not done statutorily. We don't have options on this. We have to make sure we fulfill the Constitution. Learn from other states that have gone through the process before while keeping our unique characteristics in mind, and create a level playing field by enforcing all the regulatory requirements in a firm, transparent, and consistent manner. And this is kind of our mission statement that we've adopted. Again, we're the Department of Health, and the amendment said it would be administered by the Department of Health. Other states, it's done by, the Department of Commerce, or the Department of Ag, or even the Department of Liquor and Alcohol Control, or whatever in other states. But in ours, it was set up to come into the Department of Health. So our mission statement is to create a well-regulated and enforced patient-focused program that safely and effectively provides access to medical marijuana for qualified residents of Missouri in order to meet their medical needs. Nothing in there about bringing more jobs, although we know it probably will, but this is our focus. Again, Amendment 2 passed on November 6th, 65%, defeated 2 other medical marijuana measures. There's over 3,200 precincts in the state of Missouri, and it passed in over 3,000 of them. My county of Webster, right at the top of the Bible Belt, it passed 58%. Identifies specific dates, implementation timelines, requires initial licenses be granted by December 31st. And the reason that date is in there is because the amendment said 150 days from the August 3rd date, which is the first date you can send your application in. So we are gonna have a window if you apply, say on August, it'll be a 2-week window, so I think August the 17th will be the last day. So if you apply on August the 15th, you would have until January the, whatever that would be, 14th or something like that. 2-week window, 150 days. Roles and requirements, define the 4 types of facilities, we have to do that. The program requires 51% Missouri ownership with at least 1 year of residency, and it designates the Department of Health and Senior Services as the department overseeing the program. Projections, so in the amendment, the Constitution prescribed minimums: 2 testing facilities, 60 cultivation facilities, 86 manufacturing facilities, and 192 dispensaries, for a total of 340 facilities. Now, we have committed and we have published this publicly now that we're going to stick with these minimums on the cultivation, manufacturing, and total dispensaries. And one of the reasons we are doing that is because, number one, these numbers were put together by the drafters for a reason. They did their homework, studying other states, determining how many patients that they projected we'll have, and they felt like these were the numbers that would satisfy the demand. Recently, there was an MU study done. University of Missouri did a study, a market analysis, and their numbers were much, much lower than that. So, but we have to do these mandates, and so that's why we're gonna stick. But the study obviously supported the fact that we didn't need to issue more than those licenses. Some states, I mean, it's all over the board. You've got some of those early states that came on. I think California maybe has 3,000 or something dispensaries, and they didn't even put a limit. Some states, whoever wants to apply can get one. And it's created all kinds of supply and demand issues and chaos, and basically the regulation is not where it should be in some of those western states. And so we're not gonna do that. The testing facilities is one that we probably will issue more, because I'm not quite sure why the drafters only said there should be at least 2, but it was a minimum. And it'll depend on how many apply, but we could issue everyone that applies for one if they qualify, if they're good people or good companies. So we'll see on that one. Now, on this side, the projected qualified patients, these are numbers again based on other states. We have about 6 million citizens in Missouri, and the projection is 2 to 3% of those would potentially apply for a medical patient card. Arizona, for example, is a 7 million state, and they have 190,000 patients after 6 years. So, we're not sure, but we think that's where it end up. And with that, these facilities should be able to adequately supply the needs of those patients. Another reason some states are a little bit varied on that is because they may not include everything that our amendment includes as far as what you can get a certification for. There's, I think, 13 different categories of ailments that you might have to get one for, but it pretty much leaves it up to your doctor. They kind of leave it open in there, whatever the doctor deems necessary, so. So another piece of this amendment, by the way, the amendment was 13 pages long, if you don't remember when you voted on it. And I'm sure you read every detail like I did, but there's a lot of things specified. Another piece that was specified is the pre-application fee. This part was put in by the drafters, I might say probably brilliantly, to be able to fund the program. I think the drafters thought that maybe if the money to fund this program to develop the department within the Department of Health, you know, the budget for it, if it had to come from taxpayer money, that maybe the voters wouldn't support it, or at least it wouldn't get as many votes. So they put this piece in there that as of January the 5th of this year, we could begin accepting pre-application fees. And those are for the licensed facilities, and those are to the tune of $6,000 for dispensaries, $6,000 for manufacturing, and $10,000 for cultivation facilities. And these were non-refundable, whether you get a license or not. But that's the way it will be used to fund the program. As of May 1st, we had received 505 applications, pre-application fees. And by the way, that's of about $3.6 million we've received already. So certainly, as I said, it was brilliant. It certainly is, we have the money to fund this program and not take any taxpayer money away from anything else from state funding. We'll probably end up with more people than that. We see a total staff of about 50 people now. We'll have a compliance division, say 24 people out in the field, following up on facilities and making sure people are doing what they're supposed to, regulatory division. Then we'll have an operations division in the office dealing with all the licensing and renewals and patient cards and answering the phones and emails. Just to give you an example, Arizona takes about 5,000 phone calls a day, a month. And they're a medical only state just like we are. Again, they're a little bit bigger in population, and they answer about 150 emails a day. On the license renewals, the patient card renewals are annual, and at 190,000 patients, divide that up into how many business days, and that's how many business or medical cards they have to process on a daily basis. It's 700 or 800 a day, so it takes a pretty good staff to do all that. So on the dispensaries, actually, let me go back. I mentioned the total of 505 pre-filed applications as of May the 1st. This is a breakdown of how many cultivation facilities, 153, and again, we're only going to issue 60. 272 on dispensaries, we're going to issue 192. And manufacturing facilities, 80, we're going to issue 86. So manufacturing, we're not quite up to where we'll issue. So right now, if everybody qualifies, if they met all the criteria and background checks and everything, everybody that applies for manufacturing would get one based on the numbers. The others, as you can tell, we're way over. So we have to implement a scoring system. This is in the amendment. It says if we have more people apply than what we're going to issue, we have to develop a scoring system in order to determine who's going to get one. And it's pretty sophisticated. We've had a team of attorneys working on it for several weeks now. We've actually held some advisory committee meetings in order to help us with that. There's 10 categories in the amendment that says we have to look at when people apply. Things like business plan, site security plan, the experience in a legal cannabis market, which means they're going to have some people that work in are going to work at their facility or manage their facility that's been in the industry in another state, because we haven't had a legal cannabis market in Missouri, except for the hemp and CBD industry that's very young and only been around for a couple of years now. So, but that scoring system is going to be done in a blinded fashion. All names will be redacted, and it will be done by a third-party vendor. So someone that applies for a license, it won't make any difference if you pre-filed a fee or if you know me or whatever, because we won't be involved in that at all. It'll be done totally on a blinded, outside party scoring, procedure. And then on the dispensaries only, now on the cultivation and manufacturing facilities, those will be done simply by score. Who has the best score is gonna get a license. But on the dispensary facilities, which is the retail stores, you might say, the amendment says we have to issue licenses 24 per congressional district. Now, you're in Billy Long's congressional district here, District 7, and as of May the 1st, there's been 38 applied, pre-applied, and we're only gonna issue 24. So there's 14 people, if they go ahead and apply with official application in August, they're gonna be disappointed because they're not gonna get a license. You go up to Sam Graves' district, District 6, which is the whole north part of the state, and there's only been 15 apply, we're gonna issue 24 in that congressional district. Again, this is by constitution, we can't deviate from that. And so basically, everybody up there that applies, if they meet criteria, if they meet background checks, if they do what they're supposed to do on their application, they're all gonna get one. So that's how that system is gonna work. And again, it's all mandated by the amendment. District 5 would be, Congressman Cleaver's district, which is Kansas City. As you can see, there's a lot of people interested up there, and there's gonna be a lot of disappointed people up there, so. This is gonna be the most contentious part, probably of the program, is who gets licenses and who doesn't. And other states have had numerous lawsuits, and, Arizona had a lottery, made it easy, but it wasn't really the right thing to do, because you got some operators that probably shouldn't have one, and some that should have, that didn't get one, so. That's kind of one of the things we're really working hard on, to make sure we get that whole scoring piece right. Rulemaking process, so, since we started, by the way, I started January the 1st, January the 2nd, and, that's when we basically formed the division, so we've been at this 120 days now. And we've got a lot of confidence. I've got a really good team. There's some really good people working on it. The rulemaking process has been one of the biggest pieces that we've been working on, and that's taking what the amendment says, using that as our foundation, and then developing rules for all of the parts of the amendment. And we've been posting those to our website as we get those draft rules out for public review. And it's been really helpful. People have really given us great suggestions, and maybe come back and modify, send a new copy out based on that. We're gonna have to shut all that down though on May the 15th, so we've only got a couple of weeks left. And then we'll have to pretty much go and start finalizing those draft rules, the official rules that have to be published on June 4th. This is the process. Draft rules based on those two. We have to send them out to agencies like Public Safety and Department of Ag, and all the different departments to look them over, and then we post them on the website.
He's gonna take a picture of it.
Then June 4th is when they'll be actually published. Again, a reminder of our website. All the updates, all the information you want to know will be right there. And pretty much talked about that, all the suggestions. One suggestion, that, just to give you an example, that came from our very first forum in Jeff City, someone said, because part of the amendment says, what are you gonna do when you're applying for a license, what are you gonna do to help low-income residents? That was put in by the drafters. So one suggestion that came up in the forum was to flag the ID card, patient's ID card, with a star or some way to tell if they qualify as a low-income patient. So that's something we're gonna do. That way when they go to the dispensary could offer a discount to them or something like that. Okay, these are the key dates that are in the amendment. We talked about January the 5th, we met that goal. The next one that's actually in the amendment, these are self-imposed here. But the next one is actually June the 4th. June the 4th, the final draft and the emergency rules have to all be finalized. Then on July the 4th, we begin accepting the patient and the caregiver ID applications. And then on August the 3rd, we begin accepting the facility license applications, and then 150 days from that. And then we'll end that on August 17th, but 150 days from the day they turn it in, we have to have those licenses issued. So let's talk about this July the 4th date. Patients, if they want to become a medical marijuana patient, they'll have to be certified by their doctor. And the doctor has to be a medical doctor or a doctor of osteopathy, no one else. And certifications, they'll have to go to their doctor, and within 30 days, they will only be given 30 days, they'll have to send in for their medical marijuana card, patient card. And then we'll have to have those back to them in 30 days. So July the 4th is going to be a busy time for us. We potentially could see, we don't know how many thousands we'll have apply. If we end up with 120,000 or 150,000 in 2 or 3 years, we may see 10,000 the first month. And if we don't have those back to them within 30 days, then they automatically get them. Because we have to do some background check on them, not much. We have to do a little bit, make sure that Missouri residents have been for a year and things like that. But those are the things we'll have to do in July. Now, there's another piece to this. So if you're a medical patient, you can also apply to become a home cultivator, and you can grow your own. 6 plants is what the amendment's going to allow, plus 6 starter plants. Starter plants would not be flowering yet, so they wouldn't produce any THC at that point. And so there'll be 6 and 6. And then, in addition to that, there'll also be a part of the program that we call the caregiver piece. And you can be a caregiver for 3 patients and raise 6 plants for each patient. So this is a part of the program that's going to be, we don't really have all the answers yet. We're working on the rules, we're working on that part. Some states have home grow, like Arizona has it, but it's only if you're so many miles away from a dispensary or something that you can grow your own, because Arizona, the population's kind of clustered in the center and then in all the outlying areas. So here it's going to be a little bit different. The industry tells us that about 11% of medical patients, marijuana patients, will grow their own. So we could see 10,000 people grow their own, or 15, I'm not sure. But it won't be all 100,000, we know that. Most of them are going to purchase from dispensaries. But just want to briefly talk about the home grow portion, because that's going to be part that's going to be a little bit harder for us to actually monitor and keep our arms around. It's going to be harder for law enforcement. The potential for black market would be greater there than it would be probably in the industry that's going to be regulated with licenses. We feel pretty comfortable with that part, that we can keep our arms around that. There is a portion of this industry, or this program in the amendment, called the seed to sale. So we will have to track the plants as they're grown in the cultivation facilities. There will be a batch number issued, and that batch will follow that plant all the way to the end, to the patient's home. So similar to a tracking device or a POS system in a retailer, that will be part, and that's mandated in the amendment. So every facility will have to purchase and be involved in the software of being able to, for the seed to sale system. This will also be tied into the licensing portion, patient information portion, and law enforcement will have some access to this also. So we see the technology of this seed to sale and licensing being a very, very critical part of regulation for our program. And we hope that it will help law enforcement making sure that people are doing what they're supposed to do. Now, as I mentioned, we'll have compliance officers out there that will be kind of the liaisons between the industry and the department. And but we won't have arrest power. We'll have to rely on the local law enforcement to develop those relationships to help if there's anything beyond us pulling a license. We would be able to pull a license, deal with compliance or something like that, or even a patient card. But anything criminal that may be going on, we'll have to work with law enforcement agencies. So then on August the 4th, or August the 3rd, we'll be beginning accepting these facility license applications. As I mentioned, that'll be all be done by a blind scoring system. And when we get into that, there's also going to be a portion of the people working in the industry, we're calling them agents, they'll have to apply and get an agent card. And so, if we have 340 licensed facilities in the state, and let's say each facility has 50 employees, that may be too many, but it's easy number to look at. That means there's gonna be 17,000 licensed agents in the industry in Missouri, and we're gonna control who those people are by doing background checks and making sure that we got the right people working in the industry. Again, that's one reason we feel like we can kind of keep our arms around the licensed facility portion of this program. And so those agent cards will be $150 annual fee to get one. The licenses will be a 3-year license for the facilities, but it will be renewed annually, but they'll have to pay their annual renewal fee, but it will be a 3-year license. And again, the patient and the home cultivation cards will all be an annual amount. So that's kind of a nutshell summary of the program. I know that everybody's got 1,000 questions. How's it gonna affect cities? How's it gonna affect counties? The easiest way to say it is, the amendment's really clear that cities and counties can't do anything up and beyond what they do now with zoning. They can still require zoning just like they do for any business. They can still require building regulations, building inspector, fire marshal, all that stays in place, no different. But they can't do anything above and beyond that. And again, this is in our Constitution. So this industry is somewhat protected from anything that would be, I think it's worded burdensome. Unduly burdened, there you go, thank you, Mr. City Manager. So, that's the one thing that was clear in the Constitution. With that, I think I'm ready for some questions.
Question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that these are the minimum facilities, but then we are kind of referring to them kind of as the maximum facilities. Can you speak into that? Is there a maximum set, or is the minimum the maximum? And
Good question. There are not maximums. These are the minimums, but we have made the determination that we're going to stick with these minimums, at least for the first year. And I should have said that, but the reason, after about a year, we'll probably open up a new window and we will fill any unfilled licenses. As an example, if we only get 15 dispensaries applied for in Congressional District 6, then we would open up a window for anyone that would want to apply to fill in those other 9. It would also be a time to fill in for people who didn't fulfill their obligation with their license or something like that. In addition to that, that's when we would look, because the way the amendment reads, it says that we will issue a minimum of these licenses,